1998 through 2008 Toyota Solara alternator replacement. I'm Brian Nessa from How to Automotive. I'm gonna walk you through the steps for replacing that. So we're gonna get started by disconnecting the negative battery cable. So I'm gonna be using a Denso remanufactured alternator in this Toyota here. I will link this up in the description of the video. That way, if you need to pick this up, you can. The next step we're gonna do is on the top of the alternator here is you're gonna peel the rubber boot back and take the bolt off for the main battery power feed to the alternator. And then right next to it is an electrical connector. You're gonna squeeze it and unplug it like that. So next, after getting the electrical connectors unplugged, we need to get the wire loom off this little bracket right here. So you're gonna use a flat blade screwdriver. And then what you're going to do is put it behind the little tab right here and pry it towards the alternator. Then you can reach around the wire loom off the bracket like this. So next we're going to remove the belt. And to do that, right down here we need to loosen this 12mm bolt right here coming from the side. And the way I did that was I have a medium deep socket, or you may be able to get a deep socket in here. And you can reach around the belt like this and get it right onto the bolt down there, and you crack it free and just loosen the bolt up. So you just loosen it up a couple threads, and then the easiest way to do this is to use a 12mm 1/4-inch wobbly socket and an 18-inch extension like this. Then you'll put it down onto the tensioner like this, and you'll spin it off counterclockwise until the belt is loose enough to remove. We're also going to, before we loosen the tensioner up, we're going to loosen the 14mm bolt here, and then we'll loosen the tensioner up. So now after getting the belt off, loosening up the 14mm bolt here, now what we're going to do is just leave the bolt like this for now. And we're going to go ahead and take the 12mm bolt off down here. We'll go ahead and take that off. And to help you out, if you slide the alternator upwards like this to get to the bolt, it's a little easier. So now after getting the belt off, loosening up the 14mm bolt here, pulling it back, you're going to loosen the 12mm bolt here. And you can take this bracket off like this and set it aside. To get this bolt out, you just grab the AC line here and it's mounted on this little bracket here. But if you just give it a light little pry to the left, there's enough room to get it out. Okay, as I was taking out the bottom bolt here, about halfway out I had to switch over to a shallow socket to get in between the frame rail and the alternator there, and then finish ratcheting it out. We got to kind of pry it off right here. So we're going to need to pry the alternator off. So you're going to need a pry bar like this. And you're going to put it in between right here and give the alternator a little pry and pry it off of its mount right here. And once you get it off the mount like this, now you can maneuver the hoses out of your way and pull the alternator out. Okay, now that we got the alternator out, you're going to do the same thing. You're just going to fly it out of the way and then put your new alternator back in. But first I wanted to show you the adjuster down here, how it works. So that when you take it out, it's probably going to be laying in there like this. You need to set it up like this. Or once you get your alternator, you have to reach around like this and make sure it's set up like this, not upside down like that. So you want to make sure it's like this. And then you're going to put your alternator in, and then your bolt's going to go through this little bracket like this. It's going to go through here, and you're going to have to slide it up and down to find the bottom portion of your alternator like here, and it's going to bolt into here. So it's going to bolt into here, so you have to kind of hold it like this and slide it until you find the hole, put it in the hole, and then thread it into the bottom portion of the alternator. Also, to help get the alternator in and out, if you pry this little plastic tab like this and pull this off and pull this out of the way, that gives you a little bit more room to pull the alternator in and out. Okay, once you got the new alternator back in there, you'll just line up the bigger bolt here and go ahead and start the bolt through. Once you got the bolt through and started a few threads, make sure the washer is pulled back. Then you could take the bracket like this, slide it in like that, put it on, and go ahead and start the nut. Now we'll tighten this all up in a minute once we get it on all together. So now if you want, you can run this in until it's just about touching. Now that the bolt is run in, but it's not tight, and you can still maneuver the alternator up and down like this. Now you're going to take the bolt, and you're going to reach around, and you're going to put it in that little bracket like I told you, and start it on the bottom. Now you can start the bolt there. Now once you got the bolt run in and start, and you can see how the bracket's all lined up, now you can go ahead and slip on your new belt, or slip on your belt, and make sure it's lined up in all the pulleys. Now that you got the belt back on, you can put your extension back onto the adjuster here, turn it clockwise until the belt is tight. In the belt, you want to make sure it's not over tight. You don't want this to be like a guitar string, but you want to be able to give it a light little twist like that, and you can feel it, and make sure it's good and tight. And then after that, you can go ahead and tighten the 14mm bolt here, the 12mm bolt here, and the 12mm bolt below. Okay, now that your alternator is remounted, the belt is tight, the bolts are tight here and below. Now we can go ahead and put our wire loom back on. So you're going to take this little wire loom and flip it and put it over the bracket, slide it on until it catches, plug in the electrical connector here, and then start the bolt here and tighten that down, and make sure you put the rubber boot back on. When tightening this bolt, don't over tighten it. The fitting's made out of brass and it breaks easily, so you just want to make it sure it's snug and it doesn't have any play. And that's it, and then you put your boot back on. Then, in my case, I unplugged the little electrical connector and make a little bit more room. So go ahead and make sure all those are plugged back in. Go ahead and reinstall your negative battery cable. Double check the charging system by hooking up to a voltmeter. Make sure that the alternator is putting out and you don't have a little light on your dash. And that'll complete the job of replacing the alternator on a 1998 through 2008 Toyota Solara. I'm Brian Esser from How To Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos, encourage you to subscribe, invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website, and also to remind you that I will be linking up all the parts and tools that I use in this video. And I'd like to thank you again for watching.